There we are. Okay, my name is Carlton Cartwright. I am the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated, and today is November the 27th, 2019, and we're here today at the Sims Nursing Home in Panama City. Sir, what is your name?
My name is Whitley Pemberton.
Okay, Mr. Pemberton. And when is your birthday, sir?
7/30/1939.
Okay, and where were you born, Mr. Pemberton?
I was born in Helena, Montana.
Okay. Okay, and what were you doing before you went into the military? What branch of the service were you in, by the way?
I was in the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
And I went from college, graduate into the Air Force, and went through the 90-day wonder training. And
where was that at? Where did you go in?
training was in Lackland in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
I entered the training from Billings, Montana, which is where I lived after we moved from Helena. And so I spent 90 days at Lackland and graduate as a second lieutenant.
Okay.
And
From college?
from college, I went into the Air Force.
Okay. What were you majoring in college, by the way? What was your major?
Industrial design, which is, I have a major in art and a minor in math.
Oh, excellent. Wow.
And then later on, I went and got a master's degree because the company I worked for was willing to pay 80% of it.
What company was that?
That was with Truth Division of SPX.
But that was after the service, though, right?
That was after the service.
Okay, we'll get to that. So, you entered in as a second lieutenant, and
Well, I entered as a master sergeant pay grade.
oh,
And was that for 90 days.
uh-huh.
And then was commissioned on June 25th of 63 as a second lieutenant. So my pay went up there.
Okay, pay grade. Gotcha. Good job. Okay, so where did you go to technical school?
I went to technical schools in Biloxi.
And what? What was the...
During my career in the Air Force, 5 years, I spent almost a year in Biloxi in training.
Oh, okay.
I was trained in running intercepts with our fighter aircraft against enemy aircraft or unknowns. And so I was trained that way in Biloxi. And then later on, I went back to Biloxi for several months and was trained as a radar inputs and countermeasures officer, so that I, in the SAGE system, had radar sites reporting through me that I could control their fixes in the radar to bring in the best picture for the SAGE system. So that was very interesting.
Excellent.
While I was in the Air Force, I fulfilled my need for speed.
Okay. That's a good one.
My wife and I both worked. We bought a Corvette.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It was a 427 cubic inch, 390 horse. Had a top speed of 150 to 160. I had it maxed out RPM wise. At probably the speedometer only went to 150.
Right.
And in the Air Force, I was able to fly some aircraft. I was able to fly a T-33
Uh-huh.
as a co-pilot, and that had a top speed of probably 300 or 400 miles an hour. And I flew a Cessna 130 for quite a trip from South Dakota, or not, Oklahoma to Madison, Wisconsin. The pilot was tired, so I flew. And that was a fun little aircraft to fly, that 130. And then T-33, and then I flew as radar operator in an F-89, and so that sat in the back seat in that, and just kind of watched things. And I wasn't trained as a radar operator in that aircraft, so in some cases we were flying as targets for other aircraft, especially like when I flew the T-33 a little bit. It was a matter of being homed in by other aircraft, so we had some strict rules to follow and such, and so it was interesting. One time we took off from Madison, Wisconsin in T-33, and the pilot was, I think, stalled. And we got up and we flew low level, Fond du Lac as target, and started to go back to Madison. And Madison had gone below weather minimums. So we had to, therefore, theoretically go to our alternate, which we had picked as Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Well, Milwaukee, Wisconsin was also below minimums at that point. So we took a chance, we flew into Truax in Madison, Wisconsin. The most exciting time came, we went on a taxi val in a C-47. We flew from Madison, Wisconsin to Seattle, SeaTac, and performed a taxi val and such, and came back, and coming over the mountains, we were flying along, and nice, clear, beautiful day, sunlight, and no clouds, and all of a sudden the bottom dropped out. And the aircraft dropped 2,000 or 3,000 feet, just dropped out because the air was coming over the mountain and going downward on the eastern side of the mountain. So we got into that and just dropped it down. And then we hit air finally, and it brought the wings up on the aircraft, and to the point where the pilot was then worried about flying the aircraft. So we flew into the SAC base and checked the aircraft out, and under each wing root there was stretched skin where the wings had come up so far they'd stretched the skin on the bottom of the wing up, and there was a little curve in the wing.
Wow.
And the garbage, I was sitting near the garbage can in the aircraft, and I watched the garbage come right up out of the garbage can, and then go right back down in the garbage can when we hit air again.
Okay.
So it was kind of interesting. And
Okay, so my next question is, so you say you were in training for almost the first year.
well, for almost a year altogether when I was in the Air Force,
Okay.
I was in training basically.
So where was your first duty station?
First duty station, really, where I worked was in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay, and how long were you there?
I was there about 4 years.
Oh, for the total time, huh?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so where else did you get to travel while you were in the military?
Well, didn't do much traveling, just like one trip to Seattle,
Uh-huh.
and basically Biloxi, Mississippi, and for training, Madison, Wisconsin, of course, and then up to Alaska bases,
Oh.
where I was stationed. I was stationed at King Salmon for a month for training until I went to Cape Romanzoff for the rest of my year.
Where?
At Cape Romanzoff.
Where's that at?
It's on the edge of the Bering Sea, probably on about the most western points of the U.S. are close to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we were a couple hundred miles from Russia.
Right, exactly.
And so I was able to run our interceptors against Russian aircraft. And in fact, I was evaluated at one point when I had a abscessed tooth. The person that came out evaluated me running intercepts, and we ran on a Russian aircraft. Theoretically, the Russians knew the controllers of the aircraft and the pilots that were intercepting them from Alaska and that area, so that apparently they theoretically knew basically what to expect as far as what type of mission we would run against them, which was a little disconcerting, but those were the games of the war at that time, the Cold War. So
Right. Yeah, so combat. Did you see any combat?
not really, no.
Okay. Through basic training, through tech school, and through your regular duty base, so to speak, active duty, were there any casualties? Did you ever get hurt?
No. When I was going to school in that 90 days, we had 3 suicides at Lackland in the area I was in. Closest I came to a casualty. And then, of course, that flight in the C-47 where we dropped out of the sky and the
Remember that
below
one?
minimum aircraft landings that we made. But no.
Okay. Do you remember your instructors? Any of your instructors stand out in your mind and in your memory?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. Okay. So you were never a prisoner of war, were you?
No, I was not.
How about awards and medals, citations?
Just in general awards for the groups that I belong to, which won awards, like fighting for the United States type thing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Were you able to stay? Did you have any problems staying in touch with your family while you were in the service?
Not during the last year. I was remote site to Cape Romanzoff, and so my son was born on December 18th, and I happened to be in Anchorage returning to Cape Romanzoff, and I learned of his birth when I was in Nome, Alaska,
Okay.
because I was carrying classified and had a weapon. So I had to turn in the weapon and turn in the classified in Nome, and then get it back in the morning for the flight out to Cape Romanzoff.
Okay.
So when I picked up my gear, they told me I had born a son.
Son, huh? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Go back for a minute. Were you a part of any battle planning? Battle planning. Did you participate in any of the battle planning?
Well, as I was saying, I controlled the radar inputs from radar sites into the SAGE system,
Okay.
which was, in a way, planning the battle, in that the fixes I used and the tactics I used against the capability of the aircraft that were playing the enemy, like chaff. We had various fixes that we could use in our radar sites to combat the chaff. The chaff is just minute aluminum metal strips that are thrown into the air, which the radar can't see through.
Okay.
So all the radar sees is a cloud. So part of my job was getting through that cloud in a way, or around that cloud, to get the supposedly enemy aircraft.
Gotcha. Okay, so all right. Excellent. All right. Good job. Yeah, you were busy. What was the food like throughout the military? How was the food? How was the food throughout the military? Uh-oh.
It was very good till I got to Cape Romanzoff.
Okay.
We got a new, well, when I got to Cape Romanzoff, I got off the plane. The commander welcomed me to Cape Romanzoff and said, "Here you go, you've got it." His son had been killed the day before in Vietnam. He was being relieved of his duties so that he could take care of that. And so I inherited the Cape Romanzoff site of about 100 guys, and a radar site that I had to sign for on a hand receipt.
Okay.
And that made it interesting.
Okay. Do you feel like throughout your military career you had all the supplies that you needed?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I got away from talking about the food. But in Cape Romanzoff,
Okay.
we had a commander that came in and decided that he would clean up the food stores that had been accumulating. Some of the food was frozen liver from 20 years previous. The cooks fried it up, cooked it up, threw it away. The dogs wouldn't even come close to it. Of course, they were raised on fish anyway, basically, but they wouldn't even come near it. And so that was probably the worst food I had in the military.
Okay. All right. But the rest of it was pretty good, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So where did you go for R&R? What did you do for R&R throughout the service? Go, take a break, go on vacation.
I was able to get 30 days a year, which I saved the last 2 years' worth so that I could use those when I got out and not go from active duty to a retirement in one day, just phase into it through those 2 months I'd saved. So I used that vacation when I got out of the Air Force to just extend my vacation a bit.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me. So where did you separate? Where were you when you separated?
Well, since I entered the service in Billings, Montana, I could separate from the service in Billings, Montana.
Okay.
And so I separated from there.
So what kind of plans did you have coming out of the service for yourself?
Basically to find a job.
Okay.
And having lived in Madison, Wisconsin in the service, I had some connections there and got a job working with Rayovac, the battery manufacturer in Madison, Wisconsin, and worked for them for like 9 years. And I got several patents on products from them. I think in total I ended up with 5 or 6 patents.
Wow.
One shared.
Okay.
One was a design patent. So that was interesting. I didn't get paid a lot for them, but I got to keep my job.
Well, that counts.
Yes.
That does count. Did you use your GI Bill for anything when you got out?
No, not really.
No, not at all. To buy a house or school, education?
No, because I had college, and at that time, more college, I didn't think, would have done me any more good in the industrial world. Later on, like I said earlier, one of the companies I worked for paid 80% of my college tuition and books and such to go to school for a master's.
Okay.
Which I did.
What did you get a master's degree in?
I got a master's degree from the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota, because at the time I was working in Owatonna, Minnesota, which was about 60 miles from there. And so most of the classes I could take either there or by mail type thing. And some were offered in Owatonna. So with a mixture of all three, I didn't have to spend a lot of time traveling to the University of St. Thomas, although that's where my degree was from. So I was a degree in business administration with a concentration in finance.
Okay. And I'm sorry, the master's degree was in what area?
Business administration.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
With
Thank
a
you.
concentration in finance. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I needed clarity
I'm
on
sorry.
that.
Yes.
Not a problem. Did you maintain any of your close friendships after the military?
Yes, I have one who is also living in Florida that we communicate with frequently.
Uh-huh.
His name is Gus Kyriakides.
Okay.
And so he lives a couple hundred miles away south of us here.
Oh, all right. Gotcha. All right. You know what county or what city he's in?
Oh.
Don't worry about it.
No, I know, but I can't think of it just off.
Not a problem. All right. So careers after the war, you stayed with, you said Rayovac, right?
Yes, for 9 years.
For 9 years. What'd you do after Rayovac?
I went to work for the Sub-Zero Freezer.
For who?
Sub-Zero Freezer.
And what was that? What is that?
They manufacture a high expensive line of refrigerators and freezers for special homes, and that they have special designs to fit into various decors where you can apply paneling to the unit to make it less apparent as to what it is, things like that. And one of my projects there was to design an ice cube maker for under the counter. And so that was pretty much my career at Sub-Zero Freezer in Madison, Wisconsin. Then I went to building grills and gas grills and such for a company in Illinois, and Structo also manufactured toys before that. And so we designed gas grills primarily for the market, and that was interesting because at one point we were testing a propane LP tank used in grills to see if it would explode.
Wow.
And we couldn't get it to explode. Thank goodness in a way, but yeah, now we know. So it was interesting.
Yeah, it was wound up being a pretty good product, huh?
Yes. And my wife came at 10 o'clock at night a couple of times and pulled me out of work.
Okay. That was
It
was that good or bad?
good for the company, bad for me.
Right,
That's
okay.
the way I can put it. No,
Uh-huh.
it was good, really, because you got a feeling of self-satisfaction having helped design such a product and helped it be successful. Well, when I worked for Rayovac, Nolan Rhodes was a designer and came up with the aesthetics for a closet light or a tent light. And then I did the engineering on it. And so together we got a design patent on that. But Walmart bought 10,000 of them from the sample that we had built up. So that was rather gratifying that we were able to penetrate Walmart so
The market.
easily, really, with one sample. It was about the third or fourth sample we built, but one sample they liked so well, they ordered 10,000 of them just right off.
Okay. How did you get along with your fellow officers, and how did you get along with enlisted? You were both. You were enlisted and an officer commission.
Yes, very well.
Any problems?
No, not really.
Good.
We got along very well, especially when the Pueblo was captured, because we had classified, and I was assistant officer at the site. There were only 4 officers at Cape Romanzoff, so I was one of 2 that could handle the classified and classified crypto. So he and I had to go out and burn all of the cryptographic materials that we had and receive new ones in, and it was quite a job. We got along great together.
Good.
Illinois.
You said the Pueblo. Where was that?
The Pueblo was captured, let's see, south of Korea, south of Vietnam, in fact, in the China Sea, I believe it was.
Okay.
by the Chinese, and so that they held the people on board capture for a while. And of course, all of our classified we had to consider as being compromised. So then we had to destroy our classified and replace it with classified that we knew was not compromised in the Pueblo.
You remember about what year that was? What year was that? Can you remember what year it was? What year it was?
Well, it must have been 66, 67.
Okay.
Because it was when I was in Alaska at Cape Romanzoff, was when the Pueblo was captured, and that was the year before I got out. So it was during that time frame, someplace right there, in 66, 67, that the Pueblo was captured.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so just a couple more questions.
Certainly.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, I'm sure it did. I can't tell you exactly how, because I never was against war, and I never was for war. I knew wars were sometimes necessary, but as far as wanting to go to war, no, I didn't want to go to war. I didn't want to be in war. But I wanted to do what I could for the betterment of the country and such. Just
Okay, that's fine. Last question. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Oh, well, very much so on how to get along with people, what their aims are, what I could give them, what they needed, how to work with people and such.
Okay. Is there anything that you feel like you've left out of this interview that you'd like to share with us?
No, I can't think of anything, except it was below zero when we were out burning the classified level.
It was below zero? Where were you exactly?
Cape Romanzoff, Alaska.
Back to Alaska again, yeah, your favorite place in life, I understand. Pretty cold, huh?
Yeah, that was an interesting place because it was 98 guys. We had top camp with about 20 people, which is where the actual radar was. We had a weather station down right on the Bering Sea, which is 4 people manned, and then the rest of us were just support for basically those 2 things. So. And we had a pet whale, I don't know, whale, pet seal for a while.
Okay.
He came up on shore in the summertime and visited us for quite a while and then left again. And so it actually got up to 70 degrees there during the summertime.
Wow, heat wave.
So,
did you feed the seal?
no, I didn't, and I don't know if they did or not.
Right.
But the weather people had a good friend there.
Okay.
That
Well,
was interesting, yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for your service, and I'd also like to thank you for a wonderful interview.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay.